This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody. Happy new week. Joe Castello here. WFO is back. And if you like alcohol, you're going to want to share this one, baby. You're going to want to share it. We've got the top alcohol champions in the Lucas Oil Series going to be joining us on this show. I know what you're thinking. You're saying to yourself, there's no WFO on Mondays because Joe likes the busman's holiday. And the answer is we've got PRI this week, the Performance Racing Industry Trade Show. I'll be headed out there on Wednesday. Going to be doing some things in the Total Seal booth. Going to be doing some things for Masters Entertainment, Motorhead Garage. Going to be running around there for WFO. And so we got to get as many champions in as quickly as is possible. And that means Monday. So I reached out to Sean Bellemeur. I reached out to Rachel Meyer. I said, can you guys do Monday? They're like, yes. And they're both going to be on the show seconds from now. So this is a big test, right? It's a test of the fans of the alcohol cars. We got to get them all out there, these two great champions, and how they won the championships and what went down. Then after our guests have moved on, I'm going to share with you something I learned last week, kind of an interesting, newsy story that I'm wondering, like, how much traction could it have? So stick around after the show for that. I see Sean is down there in the ready room. Rachel is getting on as well. But first, I got to tell you about the people who make it possible for me to do WFO radio like we do each week, all the time, nonstop. Total Seal Piston Rings. I'll be in their booth sometimes over the course of the weekend, so you can join us. Why don't you subscribe to Hidden Horsepower, the podcast? You get all the details as Lake Speed Jr. and myself are going to record something for everybody traveling to PRI a little bit later on today. The bottom line is this: the leader in the ring industry, Total Seal. We have done so many interviews with so many people. You can buy individual rings on their website. They've got a brand new website, all kinds of great stuff to unlock that hidden horsepower. Over 40% of your engine's friction comes from your piston rings. Think about that when you go to TotalSeal.com. Shout out to our great friends at samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. They'll be up there at PRI, as they always are. Samtech.edu, last I heard, of course, from Brian Massengill. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure, Frank and Lana Hawley. Congratulations to those guys for another fantastic year. But remember, if you're looking for that home run gift for a friend of yours, and you're not like Rachel Meyer, who's got a bunch of top alcohol dragsters sitting around, and you want to give your friend the opportunity to drive a dragster with very, very little expense to them, or none, because it's a gift, go to frankhawley.com. The Dragster Adventure is a great way to do it. And if you're looking for a slightly less dramatic gift, but something that will last a long time, RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com, 817-924-6821. Call Marvin. Tell him you want the holiday pack, which is a pound of coffee, bottle of hot sauce, and a container of his amazing 826 award-winning spice rub that's made out of coffee. And you got yourself a great gift. I send them out to a bunch of different people over the course of the years, and I've never had a complaint. In fact, they always ask me right around June, like, hey, man, I need some more coffee. And it's like, hey, man, it's not the holidays. You need to call Marvin, 817-924-6821. And yes, it's a B2B synergy that you can tell. You can tell. Later on, I'll tell you how you can get some WFO gear. But right now, it's time to start with our champions. And how about everybody share this one if you love the Lucas Oil Series? First is going to be Sean Bellemeur, couple minutes, then we'll bring on Rachel, crosstalk, and then we're going to finish up with Rachel and talk about that incredible final round for everything. That had to be nerve-wracking. But first, your three-time top alcohol funny car world champion, Mr. Sean Bellemeur. Sean, how are you?
Good, man. How's it going? You know, I was to put you on blast. I haven't got a gift of coffee from you.
What? these UPS drivers these days, the porch pirates is what it is.
I know it. Porch pirates. Shipping out West California is tough, isn't it?
Yeah, you know what? It's like, that's not what it is. It's like the people who sponsor on the show or do something with the show. And you've been a great, gracious guest, but even I don't have that kind of juice to send a pound of coffee to every one of my guests. My gosh, I'd put Marvin out of business.
Right. Yeah.
But you like coffee, Sean? Okay. All right.
I do.
Noted, Sean. Noted. You know what's
like
funny?
I said,
Marvin
just to put you on blast, right?
Yeah, well, I like it. I like, well, first of all, I love when it's less of an interview and more of an interaction, right? And you attacking me about not sending you coffee definitely makes it more of an interaction. Yeah. And so right away, people are checking in. saying what's up from all around the world. Blake and everybody Blake's in Wyoming, big fan. Derek, big fan. Barrichello, big fan. These are special to me because you work all year to win a championship. You fought so hard for the past 3 years against the Gordon family, and now you're number one again. And to me, that's a great storyline. But what about you as a racer in alcohol funny car, running for a legend, Tony Bartone, to be able to get it back, right? Like you earned the title back.
Yeah, and boy, this was a hard one. Not that any of them are easy, but Doug and I have been friends for years. I mean, our kids are friends. Our dads raced together back, in the 80s. And so, there's a lot of history there. We're obviously both California guys. And so, I talked to him about it when he won the championship in 2020. I said, it's hard having that target on your back. You can definitely feel that pressure. And so, he acknowledged that. And we came out in 2021 with a goal. We kind of came out with a chip on our shoulder, if nothing else, because of the way we lost the championship last year. There was a couple of part failures, and then to sit there in Houston and have the thing spin over and not fire for the championship in the semifinals at Houston is something I'll never forget. I'll never forget being that angry inside. I try really hard to compose myself and not throw things. And I remember walking behind the car and throwing my gloves down and just thinking, I absolutely don't mind losing a world championship, especially to Doug Gordon. They 100% deserved it. They kicked our butt, but I hate losing it like that. I'd rather lose it by 5 thou in a final round. And so coming into 2021, our team, and as we become known, the Killer Bees, Bartone, Boggs, Bellamire, and the boys, we all got together and we just kind of said, you know what, we need to redeem ourselves, because if we're going to go down, we're definitely not going down like that again. So came out and it just seemed like right away the two cars, the Gordons and the Bartone car, kind of separated itself from the rest of the pack. And so we kind of knew, hey, we've got to focus on beating that guy. The rest of the cards are going to fall. And, in reality, there were some other big teams out. McCosh ran really well, and, Johnny Lindbergh doing things with Brian Haug, and Westerfield was out there, raising hell again. And but we knew that Gordon was going to be the car. And so had a lot of fun throughout the year. And we just kind of throughout the entire season, kind of kept that Houston round from 2020 in the back of our minds, that, man, we are not going to go down like this again. Work hard and try to look at all the little details. And, it worked out in the end. And boy, there were some bumps along the way. I wasn't sure we were going to be able to pull it out, but we did.
Ain't going out like that. I liked it. We both love Top Alcohol Funny Car. However much I love Top Alcohol Funny Car, you love it a million times more. You've lived it. But this is a category that I grew up going to one national event a year. You lived in the fertile ground of Top Alcohol Funny Car country. But I would see, Brad Anderson and Ace Manzo and Ken Venny at the Gator Nationals. And just these cars are different. They're cool. They're not quite the nitro cars, but there's just this different sound, and it's just different. And I love this category to have you guys battling. And you mentioned others, the Bob McCoshes of the world, and those guys, they're close. They are close, but they're not quite there. You guys, you and the Gordon family have moved beyond the rest of the field, at least for now. McCosh was third, DJ Cox, Chris Houle, Brian Haug, who is going to challenge both of you guys next year, especially with Johnny Lindbergh. But that heavyweight Ali Frazier team versus team thing is kind of rare, right? Like we all year long, we kind of knew it was coming down to you guys, and it's interesting to hear that's how you strategized.
Yeah, and with we as a team chose to run 2 series this year. We went after the NHRA National Series, and we ran that Midwest Drag Racing Series as well. And with that, we really had to play our cards right with where we go, what kind of conditions are we running, and then kind of keep an eye on Gordon and where he's going, because the last thing either team wanted, and I think this is what kind of makes this rivalry special, there's a way to kind of go and hide and pick an event over here and just kind of go hide, Well, that's not the Gordons or the Bartones. We lay our schedules out and say, hey, let's go racing, fellas. And let's, like Doug and I have said before, we stand up, we throw punches and see who's standing at the end. And that's what makes it great. I'd love to count up how many times we were actually beside each other, whether it be qualifying or eliminations this year, because it had to have been 20, 25 times. And it was even in qualifying. We raced to see who could get the top light on first, who could stage first, better reaction time, and then down at the other end. And when we get out the other end, we talk crap about each other there. It was so much fun for the two different teams. It built this friendly rivalry that I think in top alcohol, maybe the top alcohol classes have lacked a little bit. And so it's, the strategy of going from Pomona, California to Vegas, which the Gordons and us are really familiar with from racing out west so much. Well, then Gordon pops up in Gainesville. Oh man, hey, how are you doing? Good to see you. And then we go over to Indy, and Gordon wins Indy, and our intention was really, we kind of had a focus on Dallas, Texas, sort of all year. We've been really successful in Dallas. The Motorplex is an incredible place to race. There's a lot of hype behind that race. The Stampede of Speed this year was just a really cool thing, and we knew that this always seems to be kind of a turning point for championships. And so we're really, really excited to run Dallas. And then we had our major incident, which forced us to skip Dallas. And then all of a sudden, there it is. My head hurts just from looking at that picture. And then we had to kind of change our mentality a little bit. And so that is something that I cannot wait to tell you about what we went through as a team, because it puts a tear in my eye. There's something really, really cool about that. And that was the turning point of our season right there.
Well, and that's why. So we heard the story about, and the whole Midwest Pro Mod series. Like, my belief is that NHRA and drag racing in general thrives when you have other series that people can race, maybe for a little less travel, so that guys can work and learn how to compete against you, right? Like, as opposed to coming to the national event and you get like 3 qualifying sessions and, hey, great job, guys, but these are the pros of the alcohol ranks. That's what those series are for, and I'm not diminishing it, because there's some very fast guys over there, but maybe they don't want to travel as far, or maybe that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, you decided to run a secondary series, and this happened. And when I saw the photographs, and I don't know who took this photo, I'm sorry you sent it to me, but thank you for taking the photo in this incredible catch. I thought you guys were done. Tell us about this. How was it the turning point? What happened? And the rally to win the championship after this incredible incident. Look, you're off the ground. You're 4 wheels off the ground.
Yeah, say cheese, because it was just a big flash in my face. But it's funny. You mentioned about the Pro Mod series. One thing that I have learned is that top alcohol cars and alcohol funny cars really haven't had a lot of exposure to more of your grassroots places. And that's where we race a lot with that Midwest drag racing series. And I'll never forget something that happened in Ferris, Texas, which is one of the marquee places they race. And I had a group of fans come up to me and said, man, these cars are wild. Where do you race them? And I went, really? Like 20 miles that way in Ennis, Texas at the Motorplex, like you can see like 20 of them. And so anyway, the fact that it's gaining knowledge about the class and the sport as a whole is a great thing, because this is a lot of grassroots racers that are used to fast door cars and nothing else. So, but yeah, it's been a great segue between one series and the next. And I think everybody wins with it. As far as the incident goes, that was taken in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it was a final round against Chris Marshall. Marshall was running really good, and I left first. Car was running great, and right at the top of the gear at the 1-2 shift, I had just shifted, and where that photo was taken right there, it was at about 10,100 RPM, right at the shift, and it broke the crankshaft. Broke the crank in 2 pieces. We think that Steve Boggs, my crew chief, who is like the OG crew chief of all time, he thinks that actually started a potential issue with the crankshaft from a smaller part failure we had at a different race. And then maybe we just didn't catch it, or, didn't show any signs of weakness, but it broke the crank. And at 10-1, when the motor locks up and stops, something's got to give. And it basically pushed the front of the engine block right off of it. And which is something you kind of would see more in a nitro car, just from the combustion of the nitromethane. But yeah, it stopped and went bang, and proceeded to have a pretty good fire afterward. And turning points. We rolled out a brand new race car mid-season this year at the Indy Regional, and then before Topeka. And we had some success with the car. We were able to win Topeka, but the car wasn't right. There were some things that I didn't like about driving it. There's some things about the aerodynamics of it that just weren't quite right. We couldn't quite put our finger on. But between the two series, we raced like 23 races this year, and we just flat didn't have time to fix it. We had to get the car back to Murph McKinney's. We had to do some structural things to the car. We didn't have time. Well, what that explosion did is forced us to make time. We sat down that night in Tulsa. My ears were ringing. In fact, my wife and kids were there. I took my wife and kids back to the hotel. I went back to the track. It was about 2:00 in the morning. And, we had talked about, okay, what do we got to do to maybe try to fix this thing and get to Dallas, Texas, which was 4 days away. And this marquee race that we are going to go slug for slug with Doug Gordon. And it kind of, the harsh reality set in that, you know what? We can't go to Dallas. And if we do, I mean, this car is going to be band-aided together, potential for more disaster. It just ain't right. And Steve Boggs made the call and said, guys, we're not going. And Aaron Rochon, who we had sold our last car to, and big shout out to Aaron, because without him, we probably wouldn't have made any of the races. He actually offered us his car. He offered us his engines. He goes, guys, anything you need, it's yours. And we chose not to do that, but we actually did borrow some parts from Aaron that we didn't have. And so, he, like I said, huge shout out to him. He helped us get through the rest of the season. But I got to share something with you. It was 2:00 in the morning that night in Tulsa. I mean, the car smells burn up. It junked basically everything but the chassis and the rear end, which is, massive for an alcohol car. The body was junk, engine obviously junk. It burned all the computer lines out. I mean, it's just a mess. And my ears are still ringing. My head hurt. My chest hurt. And we're standing there looking at this thing. And my car chief, Troy Green, looked up and said, well, if we're not going to go to Dallas, I mean, we're going to have to win every race for the rest of the year if we're even going to have a shot at this thing. And Nick Stoms, who's one of my main crew guys, he looked up and he goes, we're going to effing do it. And I'll be damned, Joe, we haven't lost a round since that night.
Wow.
My guys went to work basically sleepless for a week and a half. We got a body off of another car we had, got it over to Murph's. We went to Ferris, Texas to another Pro Mod race, which we tested, and we set Louis T in top speed of that race. We won the race. We went to Las Vegas, won that race, won the championship, went to the Vegas regional race the weekend after, had an epic final with Doug, won that one too, and then just came home to Pomona, and gosh darn it, we won that one too. So now we've got the car we want. I'm actually really excited for 22 because now the car is like, okay, that's the car we've been looking for all year. So what a neat story. I'll never forget standing around that car with my guys. This thing's all burned up and tore up, and it just goes, you know what, guys, we're going to do it.
That's
and great. I'll be damned we did.
That's great, Sean. Wow. 3-time champion. And I don't like to ask, like which is the most meaningful, right? Because there's the first and then the third and maybe a fourth and a fifth down the road. But what you go through to earn it certainly makes it memorable. And I think this is going to be the most memorable because of this. The car's off the ground. You guys were done. It was over. You got such a great competitor. He's the champ. You're not even the champ. And you guys rallied back and you won out to win the race.
I really believe, I really believe too that a lot of the part that the fans don't see is what goes on in the pits and behind the closed doors. This group of guys that I've got right now, I mean, I consider them family. We have a group text. We were just talking about how we all miss each other. Hell, we've only been off 2 weeks. That's what makes this so special. Is my guys looked at each other and we all had tears in our eyes. Let's just go do it. And you know what? There's nothing like the group of guys I got right now, and I can't wait to race with them again next year.
All right, we got folks out there. If they've got questions for you, please put them in the comment section. Like Paul wants to know, how high is your RPM when you leave the starting line?
That's a great question. And that varies depending on tune-up location. I'm typically around 7,000 RPM. Now, if Steve Boggs is listening, my crew chief, he'll probably go, yeah, it's more like 6,850 or 7,150. But 7,000 is the goal. But, then you get guys like Ulf Leanders, which you blow your eardrums out. He leaves starting line over 8,000 RPM, which I told Steve, I said, don't make me do that. That scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, me too. I mean, like it does when Ulf is up there. And that's the thing that I cannot relate. Like there are certain cars that I can relate to driving and think, yeah, maybe. And then there are certain cars that I think, nah. And Top Alcohol funny cars are one of those. I don't think so. Doug put me in his funny car once, put the body down, and I was like freaking out in there. This was great. Let's bring on our other champion. And you can ask her questions as well, and she will join us, and she can ask you questions as well for a little Top Alcohol crosstalk. And then when you got to go, let us know, and you can head back to work. And let's bring on a first-time Lucas Oil Top Alcohol Dragster World Champion from a family of champions, Rachel Meyer. Rachel, congratulations.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I am great. Now you're at work. You're taking time off work for us.
Yeah.
That is great. That is great. Now, Reinhardt started telling the story at the end of the year. I didn't know that you design playgrounds. Like that's got to be kind of a fun gig.
Yeah, it can be pretty fun. It's fun because we get to test out all the new stuff. You can bring the kids in to test it out also, and they enjoy that. So it's a fun job.
Now, you've been listening to Sean tell his story, and he's a 3-time champ. He had this massive explosion. He won out to win the championship. Like, what could be more exciting than that? How about coming down to the final round of the final race against your number 2 competitor? Like, you're right in the mix. Both of you together had incredible years. Talk about that final round, final race.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. The funny cars ran in front of us, and right at the finish line, there was an oil down. Brian Howe oiled it down a little bit. So then they pushed us back out of the water, and it was just hard to get my heart to like calm down because I've never been in this situation before. And Megan was trying to coach me through it through text that whole weekend, telling me to just stay calm. I was trying my best to just have fun that weekend and tell myself, it's just a race. This was my first year getting to race full time, my first chance at the championship. So I knew like hopefully there'd be other shots in my future. I actually started singing in my head while we were waiting there for them to start us up. I started to sing the song Impossible because Jackie has been impossible to beat. I don't know, just trying to do anything I could to slow my heart rate down. And I was a little late on the tree compared to how I'd been all weekend, but I still beat her off the line just barely. But yeah, once we left, I never saw her, so I knew we had it. And then once that win light came on, it was pretty exciting.
Amazing.
And by the way, in races like that, you fans see it as a quarter-mile track. That track looks 6 miles long. It takes 2 months to get down there. Oh, God. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, and this is what I love, the fact that you guys can kind of go back and forth. But from my perspective, like sometimes I forget little moments like you just described, Rachel, where, and Sean, when you didn't start, right? Like when you didn't start the year before and lost the championship, for you, it was burned into your memory for the rest of your life. And for me, it was something that happened and, oh my God, I had to go do an interview and now I messed up the interview and I'm worried about my own self, right? But when Rachel brought up Brian Howe's oil down and you and Jackie, like just sitting there, out there, just sitting, just waiting for this biggest race of your lives, just waiting out there in front of everybody, that had to be brutal to sit there and just take it. And, we're on the mic and probably adding to the intensity of it. This is for everything. But my goodness, Scott Palmer's out there, Rachel. That's my famous neighbor, Rachel, the champ.
Yeah, he lives right down the road from me.
There you go. But what about that? Like controlling emotions. You started to sing. That was your way. I won't ask you to sing now if you don't want to. But you guys are doing whatever you got to do to deal with it.
Yeah, whatever I can do to calm my nerves. I didn't want to go up there and go red or do something stupid and mess it up for myself. So, yeah, trying to do anything I could to slow the heart rate down and just calm down. Because it did feel like forever waiting there and waiting and waiting for them to clean the track off. Even though it wasn't a huge oil down or anything, it just felt like it took forever.
Sean, do you have your 3-time champ? Has that subsided at all? That nerve, the feeling of not wanting to let anybody down, I think is probably the most powerful part.
You know, the greatest thing is that's what keeps you coming back every time. It still hasn't really hit me, the 3-time thing, because I still get that jacked up every time. And one of my favorite things about an alcohol funny car, Joe, as you and I have talked about in the past, is they never do the same thing twice. I compare racing another real good alcohol funny car racer. That's like 2 bull riders riding bulls in the same ring at the same time. You just never know. And so, you know, but it's funny, those little moments like you talk about with Rachel singing. I dance in my car. You'd be surprised how stupid we really are. I was, look here, there's me dancing. That was during an oil down during Indy. You know, there's Justin Taylor, my crew guy, Seth, my crew guy. But anyway, it's you know, it's
Keep
the little
blood
things
moving. Keep the blood moving.
I mean, you know, you're just sitting there, right? So, but you know, I actually felt for both Rachel and Jackie. I've never been more nervous for a final round all my life, and it wasn't even me. Standing on the top of that hill, waiting for them to go, and you know, both of them are my friends. I want them both to win, and God, that was insane. That final round, it was crazy.
Was it insane, Ray? I mean, like, can we talk too much about that final round? Like the way we got there, you started the season off strong, and I don't want to say had it locked up, but got your first wins. And you know, your sister is the champ. She vacates the car. She starts a family. You jump in the car. You had success right away. You're loving it. All of a sudden, wow, championship, points leader, all of that. And just before it was like a locked thing, right? Here comes Jackie Frick and John Fink, and they're doing these amazing things to run you down. Like, what was your perspective of that? Like, oh my gosh, they got to win every round, and they did it.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Well, I feel like it started back in Indy. Once they won Indy, then it was like, okay, they have a real shot at this, but they had to basically win every race. And then they just kept winning and winning. And we went to St. Louis. That was my last regional event of the year. And if I would have won that one, then it would have locked it up. But Jackie went to that one, and it ended up being us in the finals, and she took me out, and then she took me out in Dallas. So going into the finals against her in Vegas, I didn't want the same outcome because we kept losing to her lately. So yeah, it just felt pretty awesome to get that last win light, and it made the trip worth it out there, because originally I wasn't going to go, but once she won Dallas, because I stuck around the whole time to watch that one, I got pretty excited, and I was like, I have to go. I can't just sit back and watch it happen and not do anything about it.
Right. Like, well, and isn't that the moral to the story for everything, not just drag racing? Like, if you want something done, you got to go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Bogner's out there. Awesome. Congratulations to you both. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for watching. Yeah, it just such an exciting season, such an exciting year. We're going to let Sean go back to doing what he does best. Rachel, do you have any questions for Sean, though? 3-time champion. We got him on the spot now. Perfect opportunity to extract some information.
Do you want to switch cars next year?
No, I thought she was going to ask me about a sales pitch for her playground stuff for my kids. I didn't think this interview was going to cost me money, but
I don't know.
No, I'll tell you what, Rachel, I'm telling you, if you get an alcohol funny car, you'll never go back.
I really want to one day. That's my goal.
Really?
I think you said Palmer's your neighbor. I think he's got one.
Yeah, I think he has one.
It's good. Bring it out to a Midwest race. We'll have fun out there. I look forward to racing with you guys again. The alcohol classes need people like the Jackie Fricks and the Rachel Meyers of the world, because they're incredible ambassadors for our sport. They know how to talk from camera. They have good, clean, fast race cars, and it's fun. We fortunately, very luckily, have been able to share a few winter circles this year, and hopefully next year too.
Yeah. Rachel, did you have something you want to add? Because I just thought of something I did want you both to comment on, if you don't mind, just because you're both great ambassadors and examples of what drag racing can and should be. And you run in the Lucas Oil series, and I think maybe they don't even. Lucas Oil is everywhere in every motorsport. You see Lucas Oil, but the thing about Tom's out there, you think about what they do for the sport of drag racing and these classes that can only sit in the grandstand so many minutes over the course of an 8-hour day, right? So sometimes you guys are running when the grandstands aren't full, but what would you both want the fans to know about the people that devote their lives to Top Alcohol Dragster and Top Alcohol Funny Car, for the reason of encouraging them to get out a little earlier or stay in the grandstands to watch these cars go down the racetrack? Rachel, you go first.
I don't know. Let's let Sean go first.
Sean, you go first.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, and I always, Joe, anytime you and I do an interview, I invite the fans to come by and check the cars out. There's way more to getting one of those cars down the racetrack than people realize. I mean, with the funny cars having 3-speed transmission and revving them up and jamming gears, and all the while the front end's in the air, you're trying not to crash the thing. And by the way, if you miss your shift, blow it up. If you short shift it, you lose the round. I love the fact that fans, it seems like the awareness is starting, that they're starting to understand, hey, these alcohol funny cars, it's like, these are like really badass hot rods. Like it's like you're hot. I mean, I always tell people the story. It's like when they first start the car and put the body down, I always wrap the throttle, and people go, why do you do that? I said, there's only one reason I do that. And that's because it's really, really cool. It's like when you get in a hot rod and you rev it up, you make that sucker purr. That's why I do it. You can't do that in a nitro car, obviously, for obvious reasons. And they have their own cool factor, but that's the part that I like talking to fans about. And it really seems to, wow, there is a whole team of people that have to maintain these cars because of all this other stuff. That's a really cool part. That's the part that I really enjoyed.
Awesome. Krista Baldwin out there saying congratulations to both of you. Great season for you both. Loved watching it unfold, and it did unfold. All right, Rachel. Now, talk to the fans out there. Compel them. Look, you got a sunroof in that car. Oh, did we lose you, Rachel? I think we lost Rachel. One moment, please, she says. Look, Travis Shoemake is out there. What's up? You both are excited. You're both getting excited for your alcohol seat time. Definitely. Rachel, we've lost Rachel's volume. No, we can't hear you still. It's all right.
We can ad-lib for her. That'd be fun.
Yes. You want to do her voice? Do you want to do her voice?
She's got a way better voice than I do. No.
I'm going to kick you out, Rachel. Go enter back in to the studio and the audio will come back. I don't know what happened. She probably got a text message. But by the way, look at everybody that's watching this interview, right? JP Gutierrez, who runs, Travis Shoemake, who runs. Everybody's getting excited about these alcohol classes. Like maybe, Sean, we're the trailing edge of the popularity boom that's happening in the NHRA, right? Like people come in and they're like, wow, we got NHRA TV now. We didn't have that. I don't know how long it's been around, but how else could you watch Top Alcohol Funny Car in the past, right? Before NHRA.TV. It does take a little while. You guys have created, you and Doug Gordon, through your dominance, have created these personalities that people want to watch you guys. That's kind of a new thing. We couldn't watch Manzo and Newberry battle it out unless you went to the race. You know, the TV shows, all of that. People like dominance because it's not just a bunch of people and which one do I want? No, man, I've seen Bellamire 50 times this year. I like him or I don't. That's interesting. What about that? Maybe we're experiencing it right now and Rachel is back.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I mean, and I believe that another part of this too, for the alcohol classes specifically, is we're right on a transitioning point, almost from a generation standpoint. And what made me think of it actually is seeing JP's message pop up. JP is heavily involved in manufacturing parts, basically specifically for these cars. And it's like, but he's a younger guy. I mean, the Frank Manzos and Steve Boggs and Bob Newberrys of the world that we grew up watching their alcohol. Well, I mean, as life has it, they're getting older. So guys like JP and, there's a new excitement. Johnny Lindbergh, look at what Johnny's done for our classes. Now he's building race cars. over and above being a 2-time champ. So there's that, that side of it with this new kind of energy. I love the fact that, I'm the old guy of the group here between me and Rachel. And, I feel like I've got a lot of years left in me racing, but there's this new excitement for a push for popularity with maybe the next generation, involving social media, involving NHRA.TV, the Fox Sports stuff. I mean, there's a lot of good things here, and I feel like there's a lot more that can be grabbed. And now maybe this next generation is here to be able to grab it. And to put a period on it, like with what Megan Meyer did with her social media stuff. I mean, that opened a lot of doors for us alcohol racers, and me. I'm a mechanic. I'm not a social media guy. But it opened a lot of really, really cool doors.
Well, she did a great job with it. And of course, Megan is, your sister, and Rachel, we'll talk about that momentarily. You guys have a great relationship and rivalry, and you make each other better. And you now have won the last 3 Top Alcohol Dragster World Championships. What we're going to do, we're going to let Sean run. Sean, thank you very much. I appreciate you, man. Congratulations. 3 championships. It's not what you do, though. It's the way you do it. You are setting the pace out there in so many ways. I know Doug and his family are going to be coming back at you guys next year. But it's great to watch this battle, and to know that it's going to continue on has been pretty special. So thank you for what you do. Happy holidays to you and your family. And I don't think we're going to see you at the PRI show, but thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. And hopefully the fans will come out and see you when we are back out there.
I can't wait. Happy holidays, guys. Rachel, congratulations. And we'll see you guys soon.
All right, Sean, take care. Be well. And WFO. There he goes. Sean Bellemeur. Now it's just Rachel and I. Rachel, pretty amazing what he has been able to do, but at the same time, what you and your family have been able to do. Your dad, Randy, you guys experienced some tragedy this year. And, I don't want to say you just worked right through it, but you didn't seem to really skip a beat. Talk a little bit about that, because in moments like that, it's almost, I would imagine you're racing for something more than just a trophy.
Yeah. So, on our way to the Atlanta National event this year, my Uncle Joe passed away, and he was a big reason why my dad,
No, that's okay.
My dad got into racing, and his kids raced with us growing up. And my dad's one of 10 kids, and they all live in Indiana. And my dad and Uncle Joe are the only 2 that moved to Kansas. And Joe was the whole reason my dad moved, kind of. And so we were a lot closer with him because he was our only uncle on my dad's side that lived in Kansas and lived near us. So we just always grew up racing with him. Like when we were younger, if my dad was out of town racing, my mom and my Joe would help me and Megan get our juniors out to the track and help us run them. And his son, Dusty, actually races Top Sportsman and Super Comp. And we actually won together this year at Topeka National. So that was a big deal to both of us. But yeah, it was difficult, but the whole season, was dedicated to Joe. And so it's just awesome that we were able to get it done.
And for those that want to get to know Dusty, we did an Attention in the Pits on NHRA's social media. Dusty and his mountain motor pickup truck, amazing. And he did go out and get that win. And we talked to him right after that win. So special, like moments like that. Obviously, it's a tragedy, but to be able to be on the stage at Kansas together inside of a season that would go on to become a championship season, Rachel, I don't know what you think about that stuff, but I don't know. I think Joe is part of it, right? Like maybe made it happen. Like who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was doing something up there.
Well, exactly. But now you're the champion. And what's that like, right? Like, so Megan, she's a champ, you're a champ. You guys, I joke about the rivalry all the time because she put it in my mind. Megan came on WFO on a regular basis. And one of the first things that she always told me was how much you two, I remember the first time I met you, it was in Topeka. It was at an autograph session downtown when we did that. And you guys made it plain. You love to battle each other for stuff in competition of various kinds, and that you're a bracket racer and that you know, that kind of deal. When you got into her car that had just won the championship, anything less than a championship would have been some level of disappointment. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're right. It felt like that. I was pretty nervous when we first started off the season because I feel like I had big shoes to fill because she just won the championship 2 years in a row. I just feel like I better do it or else, I don't know, it would suck. Honestly, my whole goal this year was just to even win a national event since I never did that. So Gainesville was my first national of the year, and we went out and won that. So I completed that goal pretty early off the bat, but I didn't really know if the championship would be possible. I didn't want to jinx myself, but I was really hopeful all season that we would have a good shot because we do have a pretty good car and I'm a decent driver. So yeah.
Now you told me a long time ago that you fancied yourself more of a bracket racer than anything. I'd like to hear about that, because that's what I say about you on the mic, because you told me that, man, I'm a bracket racer, right? And I don't think that's an insult in any way. It's just identifying with that, Saturday night or big money crowd, as far as going as fast as you can. You want to drive the stripe. You want to, be 00, take 00, that kind of deal. Tell me about that side of you. And then getting, like, from what I understand, while Megan would be at a national event, you could be there. You would elect to drag your own car to whatever was the best paying race within reason around your home.
Yeah. So before this year, I did a lot of bracket racing. Mocan and Ozark are the two tracks closest to me. And yeah, it just gives you a different kind of adrenaline rush, wheel racing. And I mean, you're not going 280 mile an hour, but it's still a different kind of rush that you get. And it's a lot of people that we race with feel like family around there, especially because my dad is always off traveling. So a lot of them have stepped up and helped me out throughout the last few years in case something on my car breaks or, I don't know, I have a flat tire or something like that. They're always there to help me. And it makes me really enjoy going out to those tracks. And that's also where I met my husband without bracket racing. He's a foot breaker, so a little bit different style than my bracket racing, but we have a lot of fun with it.
Yes, and so that is news to some. It was news to me, but so at post-championship, pre-WFO interview, somewhere in between those 2 points, you got married.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
The weekend after Vegas, I got married.
That is great. That is great. And keeping in the drag racing family, right? The family that races together stays together. You found a guy that will tolerate your hobby.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He might love it more than I do, honestly.
Wow. And you say he's a foot breaker, which, for those that don't know, it's, no delay boxes, no trans brakes, go out there, stage it up and go after it on the bottom bulb, which those guys are very talented.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He actually finished second in place in his points this year, so he did really good.
Awesome. Well, congratulations for that. What a year it has been for you. But let's talk about the future. 2022. What lies ahead for Rachel Meyer? Megan won back-to-back. What about you? What do you got planned?
It's still up in the air right now. I'm not 100% sure. We do know that Julie will be back driving full-time next year. I might try and make it out to a few races. I know Mocan is hosting a Nitro Chaos this year, which I thought it would be awesome if my dad got his car out there, since that's not very far from my house, and maybe Daniel's family could come out and watch and see what it's like to race an alcohol car, because they're used to the bracket racing. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Okay, but so it's up in the air. There's not necessarily a title defense that is going to happen. Like Megan ran for 2 championships, won 2 championships. You may not, like, that's the news, because this is, newsy. That is the newsy that you may not run for the championship in 2022.
Yeah, there's a good possibility I won't. This is the first year I raced full time, like I said, and it really takes a lot out of you being gone all the time. And now that Daniel has 2 kids, so it sucked being away from them so much, and with work, it just got to be a lot. So I think in the future I'll race again full time, but I might need to save up some money first so I can back off of work some to go.
No, well, that makes sense. Well, you did it though. You got a championship. The Meyer sisters have both won world championships. And how proud was your dad? Tell me a little bit about that. I know the first one with Megan was huge. The second one was big, but not quite as big. To win the first one with you, I saw him on the starting line going nuts. Obviously a well-loved, well-respected person in the community. I can't think of too many that are more so. But what was it like to be able to deliver on that, that promise at the beginning of the year that you felt all that stress to kind of bookend it, right? Like, oh my gosh, I got to deliver. And then you did.
Yeah, it was amazing. My dad was really happy and proud. And I mean, a lot of it is him. He's the one who tunes the car. He did a great job that final round. We were low of the event, which we needed to be because Jackie was running really good that weekend. I don't know. I owe a lot of it to him and all the guys that help out on the crew. And yeah, he was really proud. He was really happy.
Got anything you want to say to your fans out there who are watching either right now live with us or in the future? As I'm sure Megan is going to send this around the world, right, with her social media prowess.
I don't know. I guess thanks for the support this year, and I'll be back eventually.
Excellent. Excellent. Oh, look, Sean Bellemeur says both of us are junior drag racing graduates. The program is more beneficial than people think. Yeah. What about that? What about that, Rachel? Like well, first of all, Randy Meyer's your dad. You don't have a choice to do anything else. You got to be a drag racer. But it's obviously a good program.
Oh, yeah. It's an amazing program. A lot of the people I grew up racing with in juniors are still out there doing something related to racing. One of them works on Antron Brown's crew. A few other ones still are racing like super comps or door cars. Some of them are building their own race cars. So yeah, it's just awesome to grow up and build that bond and do it for the rest of your life. I hope that our kids get into it too when they're old enough.
Wow. Okay. Well, listen, when that happens, sounds like your sister has blazed a trail that you are going to follow, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great news. Rachel, thank you very much all year long, from your first wins to the championship win. You've been very gracious, and I appreciate you coming on the show here to talk about your championship. Everybody is out there, Tom saying happy holidays, and Doug saying congratulations, and just so many people. Jim Essex, who, thanks for allowing me to hold your trophy for a photo. Rachel, do you like off the top of your head, do you know this guy? Because he sent me a photo of him and you. I'm trying to find it.
Well, it was really nice that NHRA had us come back up through the staging lanes this year, or not the staging lanes, but in front of the stands. And so there was still a lot of fans in there when the pros would go to run the finals. So I started walking around, like handing out my trophy to take pictures with people, and the fans really loved it.
They
it's
did.
awesome to get that interaction with them. Yeah.
There's Jim, and he sent this to me right away. He knew that you were coming on the show, and he's like, I got a picture with Rachel. So very exciting. Rachel, congratulations. We're going to let you go back to work. Obviously, you got to earn a living. But thank you so much for making time here on Monday. All the best to your family, Randy and Megan and everybody over there. You guys are always very kind to me. This is a big deal, and you got big things coming in the future as well. Good luck with that. Happy holidays, and thank you for coming on WFO Radio.
Thanks for having me.
That is great. Rachel, take care. Be good, and we'll see you soon. Rachel Meyer with us here on WFO Radio. How about that? So exciting to see Rachel Meyer, Sean Bellemeur. How about Sean getting on there with the comment, right? Everybody follow Sean. Follow Sean. Yeah, that's good stuff. All right. So comments in the comment section, a rare Monday WFO. I've got some interesting storylines that I want to put out there. A couple of things that happen, things that are on my mind that I'm interested in, and maybe what you guys have to think. But most importantly, I would really like and appreciate if you guys would share the show, right? Share the show so that fans of these drivers can see it and get it out there. I know we've got these message boards and we've got groups on Facebook and groups everywhere. Twitter's got groups now. And it's like, where else do you get to see these in-depth, detailed personalities from the top alcohol ranks? We need to do more. I need to do more. Everybody needs to do more. But come on, Bellamire can't talk too much. Like, I'm sure people will tell him, and he would joke because he's self-deprecating. Oh, I talk too much. No, the more people see Sean Bellemeur, the more they're going to want to watch him race. That's it. The guy does such a great job. You know, as far as being in a big show car, I always say, man, I'd love to see in a big show car. I want to see on the Fox show. And he's like, man, I don't want to leave my team no matter what. And you know what? Good point. Good point. Let's just build the alcohol ranks as big as we can and get more people out there. I mean, look at the point standings, right? You've got Bellamire, Gordon, Bob McCosh, who had a great year, did not win, but it'll come next year. DJ Cox, Chris Houle, Brian Haug. Those, Brian and Johnny and Mindy and everybody over there, Dylan, they are out to win a championship. They are not joking around. They are out to win a championship. And so it's going to be even more fun next year. Matt, super proud of you, Rachel, and the entire Randy Meyer Racing team and family. Earl Nichols, who's an ace body man, runs all kinds of stuff, including alcohol. It is hard to not like the Meyer girls. Dad and mom did a great job. Yes, they absolutely did a great job. Excellent stuff. And Tom, thank you very much for the compliment on WFO Radio. Yeah, subscribe, click the bell. Subscribe, click the bell. Those of you watching on YouTube. All right, a couple of things. And we'll do a little business here. And then I'll tell you. So last week, I'll tease it up. I'll frame it up. Last week, we were not on the air because I was hired to do an online trade show, basically, seminars for the folks at epartrade.com. And it's all available on YouTube right now. Just search ePart Trade Industry Week. And there's day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. I was not on day 2 because we did the WFO with Alan Reinhart last week, but I was on days 1, 3, 4, and 5. On day 5, it was considerably NHRA specific. There were a lot of interesting things that happened. And some news dropped in the seminar that I want to run by you guys. And I want to know if you know. And I want to know what you think. And I want to know what you think about the news. I haven't really seen it reported anywhere, and it was told to me and the public, and so it's free to discuss. But I'm also a little like, wow, that's kind of feels like big news, and it's not really being discussed. So let's talk about it, right? But first, I'm going to put up in the comments section. People have been loving the WFO merch, and it is on sale once again. And so you can get WFO Radio t-shirts, you can get WFO Radio hoodies and sweatshirts, and it is all available online in our store. The sweatshirt with a giant logo on the front, coffee mugs, long sleeve tees, the wide effing open shirt, which Jason Galvin got himself one and sent me photographs of it. And you know what I did? I should have it in here. I bought one too. I bought the t-shirt in this design. And the logo is really big. Like you got to really like WFO. But I wanted to test the quality. I wanted to test the order duration. I wanted to test the whole procedure. And it worked out pretty well. We're going to make some adjustments. But, there's the merch store. So save the link and get a little WFO merch. And there's all kinds of other stuff too. But if you like WFO, you can help us out by wearing the logo and telling people about it, because you are our best way to gain new listeners. Simple as that. Now, we do have Patreons, the people who are members. I call them the advisory board, right? And that's a Steve Johnson bit. I didn't invent that. Steve Johnson invented that, the advisory board. And he's not the inventor of an advisory board, but the concept of having an advisory board, right? The people who kick in a little extra each month so that WFO can thrive, they deserve to be the advisory board. And so we did Monday Motivation today. We talked a little bit about the Bathurst 1000, which I watched. We talked a little bit about Formula One, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, and the craziness that happened in that race. And we promoted the fact that Bellamire and Rachel Meyer were going to be on the show, Reinhardt, tomorrow. Go to WFOradio.com if you want to join the Patreons. And you can maybe get a little swag here and there. Maybe who knows what will happen. But you get to be part of the advisory board, which is exciting. And you get to watch the Ignition Show, which we'll be doing later on today. Now, I'm going to put in the comment section another link, which this is something that we were pioneers in the sport of drag racing, but we were audio only at the time, and it has been going all this time, but have kind of shied away from promoting it. Now we're going to go back to promoting it. We're going to go back to promoting it heavily, and it is the WFO app. We were the first in the industry of drag racing, ahead of NHRA, to have a mobile app, WFO Radio, because I am a great innovator. No, because I have a friend who happened to begin the app business on day one, and he said, let me do you an app. And so the WFO Radio app has gone through many versions over the years, but now that we're doing this live stream, I have figured out that it is very easy for me to send out a push notification with the YouTube link to the show out to everybody who has the app. And in one tap, you're watching. One tap, you're subscribing to YouTube. Now, our whole audio only feed is on there, and every video that we do is on there, and the YouTube feed is on there. And all of a sudden, you know, apps, do you need them? You can watch through Facebook, you can watch through YouTube, you can watch it on Twitter, you can go to the website, but man, we've got an app. We've had an app. We have thousands of people on that app. The menu screen at the bottom is a little light. We're getting that changed. Download the app for Android or for iPhone. There you go. Appreciate that. And then the people who make the show possible, like Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. We're going to be in their booth at PRI here and there over the course of the weekend. Swing by, download Hidden Horsepower to find out all the details. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. They're going to be there as well, looking for the next generation of high-performance engine builders and machinists. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, frankhawley.com, a great gift for the holidays. And Marvin Rodak, rodakscoffeeandgrills.com. Marvin, I don't know if you're still watching, but Bellamire wants some coffee. I don't know what we can do for the guy, but he worked me. He was like, you know, I like coffee. And I was like, all right, 817-924-6821. Thank you to all our sponsors and our great friends, like the folks at Nitro Fish, who carried our WFO Radio 10th anniversary t-shirt in the trailer, and all great stuff. If you want some WFO stickers, I'll send them to you for free. P.O. Box 848-353, Pembroke Pines, Florida, 33084. All you got to do is do all the work. Send me a self-addressed stamped envelope. All right, so here's the deal. Last week, I'm on the ePart Trade Industry Week stream. It was streamed on racer.com and on Zoom, and had many guests, including Ron Capps, who in the interview, Ron Capps said that, you know, his big announcement is coming up at PRI this week on Friday at 1:30. So we got a date and a time for the Ron Capps announcement. He did also mention the term ownership. And the thing is, I don't like to spoil anybody's news story, but if they tell me in a media public forum, then all of a sudden we're not doing our job if we don't say it. And he said, I always wanted to be an owner. So you can go and watch that Ron Capps interview. But Friday, 1:30 is when the big Capps announcement is going to be on the NHRA stage, I believe, which is very exciting. But there was more. On Friday, we spoke with Antron Brown. Antron Brown says he's got many big announcements coming up. We had Greg Anderson. Greg Anderson was on. You guys, of course, saw Greg Anderson on WFO. But then we had Brad Gerber, who is the Vice President of Sales and the Chief Development Officer for the National Hot Rod Association. And Brad is a real sharp guy and has been working behind the scenes and told me a bunch of things on this trade show appearance that I thought was definitely worth telling the WFO audience about. Now, you can go watch it if you want, but I can just tell you, they mentioned a couple of things, and I don't know if this is out in the ether, right? I don't know if it's out there. And so I'm going to share it with you now, and you tell me what you think. First of all, the discussion of secondary programming, a Drive to Survive style show. Drive to Survive on Netflix has been widely given the credit for North American popularity of Formula One. You saw Circuit of the Americas, a sellout, the Grand Prix of Miami next year, or Miami Grand Prix, or whatever they're going to call it. It was sold out in less than 24 hours. Formula One, unprecedented explosion of popularity. The fact that ESPN's got it might be part of that too. But many people are saying secondary programming, Drive to Survive, showing the personalities, showing the people, showing what they're all about, letting people know who the people are that they're actually rooting for is a key factor in the success of Formula One here in the United States. And so everybody else needs to have it. Well, NHRA has got 2 shows in what we're calling pre-production. He gave us the names. Like, I almost feel weird saying it. Like, am I revealing something I'm not supposed to reveal? Is this some sort of, has anyone heard this? I don't know. Maybe they have. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I was working. American Blacktop, the name of one of the NHRA secondary programs, and Give Me My Shot. So you can tell from those two names, American Blacktop and Give Me My Shot, that one is obviously going to be focused on up-and-coming drivers, and the other is obviously about the sport, American Blacktop. Now, what's funny is if you search American Blacktop, there is a tweet from Marcus Lemonis to the NHRA saying, what words describe the NHRA? And Marcus Lemonis from Camping World said, American Blacktop on fire. And here, 8 months later, the name of the secondary programming show that was said by Brad Gerber, Chief Development Officer of the NHRA, is American Blacktop. I think it sounds great. What's going on with it? It says both have been, they're doing some of the shooting for the pilots that they need to do to pitch networks. I would call that pre-production, which is super exciting to think that they're going to have multiple shows that they're pitching to whoever, multiple networks. And who is going to be producing this? And this is other news. That is it, top secret stuff? Or is this not newsworthy and I'm just so excited about drag racing? Or is it newsworthy? And the answer is WFO Radio is reporting that Brad Gerber said 0.0, the studio that does various shows on CNN and Streets of Dreams with Marcus Lemonis, United Shades of America with W. Kamal Bell, and many others. The Netflix show, Somebody Feed Phil, Connected. I'm looking at their website right now. My Next Guest Needs No Introduction with David Letterman. These are all 0.0 series. According to Brad, that is the production studio that is going to be creating or trying to create NHRA's secondary programming. This was a mind blower to me. Like, wow, it got me so excited about the future of the sport. And, other guests on this industry week were people like Michael Andretti and Zach Brown and Ross Braun and people in the greater industry. And you can go watch the bit. It's Friday, day 5. And I think right at the top of hour 7, right after Greg Anderson and Antron Brown. But very exciting, very exciting. And so let's just pause right there. Isn't that exactly what we need? That kind of concept. Isn't that exactly what we need? What do you think about those concepts? I am excited as well. Jim Essex says, very interesting. Monica just missed the big news. The big news. Floyd, what's he say? Turbo Smart will be there in a large booth. Thank you very much, Floyd. That's very cool. Come say hi to me. Shout out. What do you think about a show? Look at Street Outlaws, how popular it is. Why is it popular? Why? Because they show the people and their interactions and their backgrounds and their battles and their overcoming obstacles, like what Sean Bellemeur was just talking to us about the team looking up and said, we're going to effing do it, is what he said. And I think that is amazing. And so that was a very exciting bit of news that you can see and follow along. The second bit of news that I just want to put out there because, I don't know, Matt, I love NHRA. I'm excited for anything that will help grow the sport. Exactly. We were talking about factory experimental, and everybody's excited about factory experimental. Like on a 1 to 10 scale, how excited are you about factory experimental? How excited? Give me a 1 to 10 in the comment section right now. Most people that I have talked to have given me just a lot of positive feedback on the concept of factory experimental, including Greg Anderson, because they will be using a clutch and a manual transmission, which to so many people is so important. Factory engines, factory look, 5-speed Liberty style transmission. Factory dimensions. Boom. Everything we have been talking about for a long, long time. And it's going to be factory experimental. Matt goes 1 to 10, 15. Jim Essex, 8.5. Gary Carey, 9. So of our couple of people who have elected to give a little feedback here, over the top, overwhelming excitement. So now this is, maybe 100%. Can't wait. Anything new is exciting. Well, what about this? Brad told us that factory experimental is a gateway, that it leads to factory E, another category. He gave us dates, 2023 and 2024. 2023, exhibition, 2024, category. And I asked him, I was like, hey, man, this seems like big news. Factory E comes to the NHRA. The chassis that you see in factory experimental, but with factory electric drivelines, not as a replacement for factory experimental, in addition to. Whether you like electric or not, that's not the story. Because right now, next year, there will be people in the NHRA that can run for an electric world championship in bracket racing. And the Summit ET Series will feature an all-electric category. So all the Teslas and the Bolts and the Leafs and everything, the BMWs, they can all race against each other in full electric. And if you want to be, if like the electric people who really love it, they will race against each other for a world championship to run at the in Vegas, where we did the championships this year. That's news already. But just the name, Factory E, and to understand that there is a road that has been laid out. I highly recommend you go check out the interview, and it is up on YouTube, ePart Trade, Industry Week, Year 2, Day 5. FX10, long time coming, 10 out of 10. Jim Essex, he likes it. The difference in the TV series is they interview everybody, not just the top runners, or go to the same reruns, get out in the pits where some of the real interesting people are in all the classes. Well, absolutely. And see, that's the difference between a secondary show and the race coverage. The race coverage has to interview the winners. Like, you can't go do a prolonged interview with the guy who lost first round from the number 9 spot. It just doesn't make sense. You only get so much time. That's what these things are for. It's very exciting. Scott, great show, Joe. Jim Hughes, 10 out of 10. Super excited. Everybody's excited. So I just wanted to drop a little of that news. If you didn't hear it, if you didn't see it, it's out there. It's out there. And I think both stories, I foresee headlines, Netflix Drive to Survive, spinoffs, or creates copycats, something like that. The success of Drive to Survive being noticed and utilized to expose other sports, right? Street Outlaws. The success is unparalleled. Those guys are great characters. And I went to No Prep Kings this year. I got to the semifinals of their street category. And I really get it and appreciate it. What's it all about? It's about the personalities and the characters. Okay. Are their personalities and their characters, are they better than the personalities and the characters of the NHRA? Well, no, they're not. Are they as good? Sure. You like who you like. You like what you like. I'm not diminishing anything. But we've got great characters, people and personalities and rivalries and stories and sub-stories. You just need cameras all over that place. You need cameras all over the place. Like if Dallas, Texas, if they had cameras there in Dallas, the Stampede of Speed, what was going on behind the scenes, in the pits, all that stuff. What was going on behind the seats and in the pits, all that stuff. It would have been epic. It would have been epic. Scott Purley, what's up, Scott? Drag racing is always evolving. We need to continue this process. That's what sets the sport above all. It is so true. I don't think AFX or Factory Superstock can coexist. Factory Stock Showdown? I disagree. I wish I knew who you were. If you watch in the group, you have to sign in. You have to allow StreamYard access to your profile. Otherwise, I can't see who you are. Factory Experimental are purpose-built cars that started out as pipe, and you can get a body in white, or you can get a junkyard car, or you can cut your car. A factory stock showdown car is a numbered collectible from the factory. That's the difference. Justin Lamb guy took Copo number 10 and they cut it, and it's amazing. Or number 12, maybe. I'm sorry for not remembering exactly. They got the dealership number 10 and their Copo number 10, and it's an amazing story. Justin Lamb superstock car that blew everybody's mind this year. And that's kind of what Factory Experimental is going to look like with less interior. But I think they can coexist. I think they can coexist because one is a purpose-built race car and the other is a stocker built by the factory that happens to be mega fast. And there's going to be, they only make 69 or however many each year. There's going to be value to keeping those things together. People aren't going to want to just cut them out. And the factory stock showdown cars are going to continue to run like 780s, 770s in that area, because they want it to be a class for the people who go buy those cars. I just bought myself a factory stock showdown car. I've got it. I can look at it. I can go bracket race it. Maybe I will do some things to it to make it compete. Go see the Stanfields. Factory Experimental, totally different deal. They're going to look kind of the same. They're going to drive differently. They're going to react differently. I think they can coexist, but it's worthwhile. It's a worthwhile debate. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for checking out WFO tomorrow with Alan Reinhart, 1 o'clock Eastern time. We will be back. Going to be talking about everything drag racing and getting ready for PRI. We're going to be getting ready for, we need a new class of supercarts. Listen, I've gotten to the point where if it's fast and it can perform, I'm interested in it. I am interested in it. That Cobra Jet 1400 warped my mind. It was the E-Copo that was first. Jim Norris, 10 out of 10. Everybody's 10 out of 10 excited for Factory Experimental, just to let you know. But the idea that Factory Experimental is a gateway, go listen to Brad. Go listen to Brad. To Factory E, amazing. And that we've got secondary programming on the way with names, cool names like American Blacktop and Give Me My Shot. I'm excited. I hope you are too. A couple of nuggets there from last week. And you can go back and you can see Ron Capps, and you can see Antron Brown, and you can see Brad, and you can see all of that stuff. We had a good time. But later this week, we've got Alan Reinhart, and Wednesday, I'll be headed to PRI. So consider this part of your pre-PRI programming. We'll be doing something for Hidden Horsepower with Total Seal as well a little bit later on. And remember, the WFO app, it's available. Apple and Google for you Googleites out there. I haven't been promoting it too much, but why not get on there, right? Why not? Get the app and enable push notifications. To me, that is the most important thing because I can send out links. I send links to people, tell you where to go, tell you what time things are happening. And first in the industry over 10 years ago. Pretty amazing stuff. Big thanks to Sean Bellemeur for coming on the show. He was great. Big thanks to Rachel Meyer. How about Rachel breaking a little news, too? I mean, she may not defend the title. If you listen to what she said, that car might be available to somebody. Like, that's what I think. Okay, like, she won a championship. She just got married. So let's take her personal stuff and keep it personal. She says, might not defend the title. If I'm a racer and I got some money and some sponsors and a background, could there be a championship caliber car that is available? Julie is on the schedule, she said. Wow. Amazing stuff. All right, guys, it's Monday. WFO. Patreon's got a little Monday motivation today. Tomorrow we got Alan Reinhart, and then it's off to PRI. Big thanks to everybody. Thanks to Sean Bellemeur. Glad you got through this, bud. And our guests. Have a great week, everybody. Ignition later on tonight. We'll see you then. WFO.